Greetings, everyone, nieces, nephews, sons, and daughters. A beginner's guide to constructing the universe, the mathematical archetypes of nature, art, and science. A voyage from 1 to 10 by Michael S. Snyder. Yeah, this is a book that really would take you to another universe. And one day I'll tell you how I came by this book. Matter of fact, this book found me. You can believe that. Yeah, nephew, I want to talk to you about some things that's happening now. I see my observation over almost a century, put it like that. You don't know a lot of things that was kept from you all for generations because they want to keep you ignorant. They didn't want the people to rise. Now, a lot of information is coming out now, but I say it's a little too late because you should have had this information growing up. But since you was denied this information for about two generations, now it's a little too late. Now that they see that people are totally lost, they're bringing out information they have hidden for years and years and years. For example, lost speeches of leaders that they just found, you know, people I never even, people who I remember way back in the day, right? But I thought they just didn't do much. Finding out the wonderful things that everyone did. What's being said is that this proves that this generation, for the last two generations, being ignorant. And all the ignorant mean is you don't know. That's all ignorant mean. It's not a slander against you. When someone say you're ignorant, they say you just don't know. It becomes a sin when you stay that way because in this day and time, the information age, there's no excuse for not to know. But what the adversarial powers are doing now is they're putting out a lot of knowledge, a lot of information that was hidden from you for two generations because they see now you're not going to accept it because you haven't seen this type of information. They have totally taken over your mind with the integrated schools. If you went to integrated school, it's not your fault, but you kind of at a disadvantage of knowing really who you are because you've been miseducated. You're probably not going to find many people who, like myself, grew up before the civil rights era, went to all went to our own schools, had our own neighborhoods, had our own stores and supermarket. We had our own culture. That generation is approaching this, let's say, fulfilling its purpose. But we didn't teach y'all the way we should. We didn't. Because you was taken from us. So let's say it like this. Our generation, I've said this time and time again, our generation have failed you. We failed you for generations on generations, young people. You can change that. You can. You have to form your own communities. There's no way around it. You got to get back being a family. This generation, the last two generations, proves that integration do not work. Now, I'm not saying segregation where somebody got their foot on your neck. I'm saying separation. You were taught to believe that separation was a bad thing. You never experienced it. How can you know? Separation is the answer to everything that's going on. Because when you have a unit, a village, so to speak, you got a support group. You got people who can help you resolve issues. People just going crazy. I live in a pretty prosperous neighborhood, and there's a few melanated people here, and every now and then they just go wild. They just start hollering, cussing, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you wonder why you are rejected. Nobody want to live around us. Yeah, because you know the Frankenstein that they've made us, the mad scientist. Now nobody look at the mad scientist because to make a Frankenstein, you got to be a mad scientist. They experiment on us, y'all. That's what's being said. They've experimented on us as a people for generations. Now they're trying to make some amends by putting out a lot of knowledge that was hidden from you, hidden from your children. I'm looking at this. I say, man, where they get this information from? Yeah, they had it all along, but they hid it from you because they, like when you see the movie Trading Places, they had this experiment, so they paid off the nominal sum. They paid the $1 contract. Say, oh yeah, well you won. If we deny them this information, this is exactly what would happen. Yeah, it was a experiment. So now that the experiment is concluding, they're proving their point. Now they're putting information back out here. Well, putting out here for the first time. But you have been taken so far away from yourself. A lot of you do not even see it or don't understand it. That could be the reason why he's putting it out there because he's saying they're not gonna accept it anyway. This information you should have been taught from the cradle. So we failed you all, but we had a lot of help. Meaning we did what we could, but when the colored people sold us out, and let me talk about that for a minute. You know, Marcus Garvey, a richly melanated man from the islands. We're all from the island because that's all America is, a turtle island. He was gifted speaker, orator, and he had traveled quite a bit before he came to America. What inspired him to come to America was the teachings of Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington taught about self help. Drop down your buckets where you are. Wherever you are, get to work. And he was able to deceive white people into giving us certain things that they wouldn't normally have given us. For example, they didn't want us to go to their schools, so he played up on the idea and said, yes, you don't want them going to your schools, and he help you get your own school. Help us get our own school. I don't know how he did it, but he was a genius the way he did it because he got a lot of things for us. But then right behind, whenever there's improvement, there's always somebody who's planning or plotting against the improvement to bring it back to zero. And Marcus Garvey formed the UNIA, United Negro Improvement Association. And this was the greatest thing because people started coming together as a unit. He had auxiliaries. There was military uniforms. They didn't have any weapons, did they? Yeah. The military have weapons. The point is, he brought about more unity than any organization since, because he was united not only in America but people all over the world had chapters, mostly in England and the islands. So he was the first, if you want to call, Pan-Africanist. But the powers that be got together and said, no, we gotta squash that. So to raise up this Dubois, French name, colored man, highly mixed, and he was the main nemesis of Marcus Garvey. I don't see the Honorable Marcus Garvey because I really respect him. Now he didn't teach religion, but he was esteemed as a Messiah. They called him the Moses. That's what they named. They calls him the Moses. He was our Moses because he took us back he was taking us to our promised land. So he come Du Bois, and first thing he attacked the man color. He said, "Oh, he's ugly." That's the first thing he said. Go back and read his speeches. Don't believe me. So that shows you that he had self-hatred for a mixed man who had white ancestry and black, to call a unmixed man, a man who had little to no white ancestry, to call him ugly because he had his original color. Now you do know that Du Bois was instrumental in forming the NAACP, right? Yes. National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So Negroes wasn't welcome. At that time, Negro was considered the dark people, and the colored was considered the light-skinned people. Had this paper bag test in these organizations, in these sororities and fraternities, that if you wasn't brown as that paper bag, if you was darker than the color of that paper bag, you couldn't get in. Go watch the School Days. Go watch School Days. Spike Lee, he talks about that in that movie. You don't see these movies playing on Netflix or TV. If check this out. I was looking at Netflix, the not the main page. Go back and go look in the documentaries. Look in the documentaries. I don't know where I found it, but I was looking in the documentaries, and I found all the black movies there. I mean, every one of them was there. And the only way you could watch them was you had to order them. Some of them you had to mail order. You had to watch them. They had to send them through the mail, but they wasn't ever going to be played on regular Netflix. But it was amazing to me because when I saw all those movies, I said, man. So you see, that's what happens when they form these organizations. They always take our culture. That belongs to us. We don't think like that's ours. That's why we in the condition we're in, because everyone else claimed their own intellectual property. This was the idea with a lot of our artists. This is why they came under fire, because they wanted their intellectual property. Starting with the first one who had his own record label. Oh, bring it to me, bring your sweet loving, bring it on home to me. What's his name? So the point I'm making is that things can be changed, my people. There's hope for us. But we got to get out of their society. Why would you stay where you're not wanted? You're not accepted. I know you're not. You never will be. Because you don't accept yourself. People can't respect you. It's against nature. You see, we was forced into their communities. You got to understand that. No one ever invited us. No one ever invited us. And when we was in these cafeteria. Well, not me. I didn't go and sit on no counter and try to get somebody to serve me. I had more sense as a teenager. I said if they didn't want me, I didn't want them. They didn't want to serve me. I didn't want to give my money. But to show you the society we are in and all the good people, when these young students was being attacked, the people who was there being served without a problem, they didn't have no problem with that. They never stood in defense of us and said, why are you attacking these people? They haven't done nothing. They just want to be served. No. They would have been ostracized out of their community if they stood with us. So this whole generation was bred on hatred. Yeah, it's 5 in the morning. I just, Spirit told me, to get up and talk to your people. And the scripture says our people lose their life for lack of knowledge. It's not because they didn't have the knowledge, it's because they rejected it. So, niece and nephew, you need to just get away from the people who don't value you, whatever complexion they are. Well, that's really the message I had. W.B. Du Bois took this. He took this colored organization and use it to experiment with us. Because now they was already accepted. A lot of them has passed for white, remember. They was more acceptable. But the darker skin was never accepted. So why would they try to force us to go to their schools and force us to go to their neighborhoods and leave our own neighborhoods? That was evil done by our people. White folks didn't do that. They didn't come and drive us out of our communities. No, the colored people told us we need to have what they have. We didn't need to have anything of our own. See, that's how the white people got to us, through them. They didn't they had what they needed. Well, it's there in history. If you don't believe me, I'm just being entertaining here. And I'm really here for those who don't like to read. You know, reading was something that you was severely punished for back in the day. So now that you came back in a younger body, you still remember. You remember that punishment you got for reading. So that's why a lot of you don't read today. Because of what you went through when you was here. But you got to fight that. You got to really fight that, because no one can hold you down once you have self-knowledge. The reason why you're suffering now is because you don't know who you are. So everybody can take advantage of you. Everybody can use you. And everybody is. Until you decide that, hey, I'm going to follow the model of every other people. They set up their own communities. They trade their business among themselves. And we had that. If we had been left alone and continued to grow our communities, man, that's what they was afraid of. We would actually be controlling America, because we were smarter people. And let me ask you this, family. Since it's clear we dominate in sports, when given the opportunity, don't you know we can dominate in the intellectual arena as well? Because we have. The Moors civilized the world. That's what they won't teach us. So you got to get your own history and teach this to your children. They're not black. That's an insult to your ancestors. You belong to a people. Before this man and before this race is created the term race, you identified by where you came from, your land. You're the people of the land. That's why you could dare go into an African and call him black. He said, "No, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian." They don't play that black stuff. So you shouldn't either. This is something recent. You wasn't always calling yourself that. That started in my generation with people like James Brown and other artists. Said loud, I'm black now. Man, the damaging thing. And he was a full-blooded Indian. James Brown was, yeah, that's why he never said that he was black. He said, say it loud, and then he let you say it. He kept quiet. So was he paid to do that? Why did he do that, since he didn't identify as black? He did not. Do the research. Well, I went over the time that I planned on speaking, so until next time, love you.